If you like this CL final, you'd better hope proposed changes don't happen. Everything that made the Champions League great this season is under threat. The final hasn't yet been played, and a proposal put forth by the richest and most powerful clubs already imperils the future possibility of the very Cinderella runs and collapses by the favourites that made this such a captivating edition of the Continental Club Championship. If adopted, could Ajax have found the formula to returning to European prominence and coming within seconds of reaching the final? Could Tottenham Hotspur have overcome years, even decades, of late-season collapses to survive heart-stopping thrillers with Manchester City and Ajaxa? Even a legacy club like Liverpool's second straight final, would have been less likely. The European Club Association, a sort of trade group of 200 clubs, controlled largely by the biggest teams, has convinced UEFA, the regional governing body, to consider its idea of reserving places in the Champions League for the 24 biggest clubs in Europe. The other 8 spots, but has since been acknowledged as a possibility by UEFA, although it claims it's very much in the concept stage. The thing is, such a scheme would ossify the current hierarchy in the sport and create a kind of Burr class of clubs that already enjoy enormous economic advantages at the top of the food chain. And it would leave Ajax, having mostly spent 2 decades in the wilderness after its last spell of European competitiveness, likely wouldn't have made it. It wasn't supposed, and that's just it. Fortunes rise and, what's more, a slate of guaranteed Champions League entrants would make the domestic leagues largely unimportant. In the Premier League, much of the drama this season in the Spanish and Italian leagues came not from Barcelona and Juventus winning yet more domestic titles, Barca's 4th in 5 seasons and Juve's 8th in a row, but from little Atalanta and puny Getafe chasing Champions League berths. They would be a pair of. The domestic leagues have understandably pushed back against this plan. La Liga president Javier Tebas has called it catastrophic, which would not go into effect until 2024. Because there is in some ways, this sort of proposal was inevitable. The mega club can, but then the biggest clubs don't always stay the biggest. Some decline. Leander Shayer-Lakens is a Yahoo Sports soccer columnist and a sports communication lecturer at Marist College. Follow him on Twitter. More from Yahoo Sports. Related slideshow: soccer stars to watch in 2019 provided by Espresso.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.